welcome to the Cultivation Podcast. I am your host, Tom Hamill. We have an incredible show for you this week. One of my longtime friends. I can't wait to introduce him to you, show you who he is, let you hear his story and what he is doing really to live out his identity. So let me just give it up real quick. Jose Rodriguez, thank you so much, Jose, for being on the show today. And I can't wait to get into what we're going to talk about. But let me just say welcome.
Wow, thank you so much, man. I'm excited to be here, and I appreciate you inviting me on.
Yeah, of course. So Jose and I, we've met, Youth Urban Workers Conference. I probably just butchered the name of Urban Youth Workers Conference. I got it dyslexic right there, but 2012, 2000, maybe 14, somewhere in there. It's been a minute though.
14, I think. Yeah. It has been a while.
Yeah. I just remember the big bottle of some sauce that came out there, right? And it just like, boom. I was like, I have to know this cat, right? That was it. That was, in the words of Doc Holliday, an enchanted moment for me.
Still have people that come up to me when they see me like, hey, you're the guy that had the bottle of that would be me.
So Jose, he runs and is the founder of an organization, a nonprofit organization called Rescue a Generation. It focuses on reaching students who are at risk, struggling with behavior, suspension, family issues, those kinds of things. A huge sought-out motivational speaker. I see you doing school assemblies to large conferences all across the country. Following you on social media is like, where's he going to be at now? That sort of thing. Love your passion, your boldness. So, man, that's probably not even all of it. Just what are you all about? Just tell us your story. What are you doing right now? Who are you?
Yeah, I am. I'm, like you said, the founder of Rescue a Generation. Honestly, man, I believe in young people. And so any avenue I can take to try to get a message of hope to students of any caliber, I do it. So whether it's in juvenile detention centers because of like my story and my upbringing, or on school campuses, or in church settings, right? Like wherever I can go, I'll go to get a message of hope to young people. And I'm thankful that I feel like I have a relevant enough voice. I have a ear for the culture of like what else happening with this generation. And so it helps me speak truth in a relevant way that I think has helped us to make a pretty big impact so far in our journey.
It's so awesome. Thanks for doing that. I would just ask you this question because you're in this space and in this world all the time. What do you see a common thread or a commonality of what this generation, and we're mostly talking about teenagers when we say that. So for anybody listening, we're talking about high school students, early college students, junior high students. That's kind of the time frame or the age bracket that we're talking about. What's a common thread of maybe issues or I'll probably get some flack for this, but some dysfunction? What are those things that just like you see over and over again, there's a theme to what people of that generation, this generation, are dealing with and wrestling with?
Yeah, I think at the core of where the generation is struggling currently, it stems out of broken families. And if you look at the rise of social media influence, where you can be connected with people yet disconnected at the same time, we're contributing to rejection issues, abandonment issues, and it's across the board. And so one of the things that we endeavor to do is always try to be the consistent voice in the life of a student, because that inconsistency continues to contribute to their levels of brokenness, if you will. So, and I don't think it's changed. I just think it's magnified at another level right now because of social media, because you can go post whatever you want, or you can leave out whoever you want. And so our world is not very inclusive. It's really exclusive on social media, and it becomes a game that a lot of students are losing in. And so we try to help them process through some of that pain of how do you handle some of that rejection and abandonment and all of that stuff.
Sure. It certainly has become the filter generation, and which lacks authenticity. And then by looking at all your filters and I never see anything negative or authentic about you. Not that you're not authentic. I'm just saying. Then when I look at my own problems, I'm like, how come I'm the only one dealing with this? Look at all these perfect people. Well, that could have been the 10th photo they took or the 100th photo before they posted it. Getting the lighting just right, all that kind of stuff. So I get it. Let me shift gears if I could from Jose, the speaker, the national traveler, blah 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 crowds, and let's just talk about Jose the person.
Yeah.
Not that they are different, but let's get down to the nitty gritty here when it comes to this. Like, tell me, where did you grow up? What's your upbringing? What's your background? Give me a little bit of snippet of that, and then what was the catalyst moment for you that caused you to even do what you're doing? What awakened that possibility, that dream? Because not everybody is doing what you do. So why are you doing it, and what awakened that mission, purpose in your life? So it's twofold question there.
I got no worries. I'll try to give you the Cliff Notes version. I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma originally, but I grew up in North Tulsa, about a mile away from the Tulsa race riots. So if you go back into history and you look at Black Wall Street, so here I am. I'm Latino, white, and Native American. I grew up around all Black people, so I was confused, man. On top of that, my dad was a full-time drug dealer. So he's in and out of the house for weeks at a time, like literally just disappears and pops back up. And so it really just led me to a lot of those dysfunctions that I was describing about this generation. I had those, a lot of, I probably struggled with PTSD by the age of middle school because of some of the traumatic experiences I dealt with as a child. So you factor that in, you get into seventh grade, I'm already starting to act out some. And then I come home one day when my dad was supposed to be there, only to find out that he got sent to prison for 3 years without us really knowing, right? Like we were expecting to see him, even though he was inconsistent, we still knew that he would be around, And yeah, so I just made some really dumb decisions around then, that I had to be the man of the house, that I would join a gang, that I would find protection. I'm a little bigger now, but I was a skinny kid back then. I mean, skinny. And so I had to be the one. And then you grow up around a whole nother culture, a whole nother race that you don't look like. You got to defend yourself a lot. Like you can't just be a kid that talks a lot. You got to fight, like to show that you're not a punk, that you're. So I do all of that trying to prove myself, man. And fast forward a little bit, I get to high school, I get arrested for stealing a car. Just really on a path to where I'm going nowhere anytime fast. And by the age of 15, going freshman to sophomore year, I had a chance to go on a trip out of the country with a church group. And I didn't believe in Jesus or anything like that. Just I was out the country with these people because they let me go, fresh off probation, smoking weed right before I left. Right, I'm on this trip, and literally I just had this experience out there that I honestly was like, when you go out of your typical environment, it expands your worldview. And
Yeah.
I saw kids out there that had it 10 times worse than I had it in my poverty-stricken neighborhood. And so it literally like shook me, and I realized that there's a whole world out here that I could get involved with. I can learn about. I can go see. And so it kind of just expanded my mindset. And then I had some mentors along the way walk me through just a process of like growing, becoming a leader. But so two catalyst moments for me. The first one was my original mentor, fresh off probation. I go on this trip, I come back, I'm like, my life has changed. I'm gonna be a different person. Fast forward almost a year later, I'm kicked out of the church. I'm kicked out of the Christian school that I was trying to go to for stealing a church van. Like I was a mess, man. But this lady never gave up on me. Like, and I mean, never. I thought for sure that church was done with me. They don't want to see me ever again. And this lady stayed in my corner, stayed believing in me. And that was a game changer for me. Now, fast forward a little bit to college. I made it to college. I went to a Christian university. I'm studying like theology, youth ministry, because I just want to reach young people. But I'm doing horrible in school. I mean, I'm on the verge. I'm about to just quit because the school ain't for me. And I meet this businessman that probably in maybe in the last 10 years, I've had 10 conversations with him total. We don't talk all the time, but when we talk, there's always something about a conversation that literally shifts the direction I'm going in. And he gave me this book, man, called the Success Principles: How to Get from Where You Are to Where You Want to Be. And he said, read this book in a week. He put $100 bill on top of it, and he said, or don't ever ask me for anything again. And I read that whole book in a week, and it began to transform how I viewed success. I was so
Mm.
off. I thought success was money, cars. You know, I had that hood mentality of what success was, and it transformed my drive. It transformed my goals. It literally transformed my idea of success, and I am who I am today because of that one book that he laid on that table, and further conversations I had from there.
That's awesome. I love those stories. And part of the whole cultivation community, cultivation podcast is really awakening those dreams, awakening those possibilities within us, mapping out that identity of that person that we're meant to become and meant to be. And so as we are looking at you in this catalytic change, right? This catalyst kind of transformation, and you begin to see the possibilities and you're reshaping what success looks like, that sort of thing. Um, did you always from that moment think, I'm going to be this national speaker reaching a youth generation? Are you doing what you always imagined you would be doing from that moment forward? Does it look any different than you imagined?
Well, it looks completely different and the same at the same time. So here's what I knew. I read that book and I learned about the author. So, you know, you read books and you get principles out of books. But toward the end of the book, I don't know why, but I started to pay attention to how the author was writing. It almost felt like I was like studying the writer as opposed to the writing. And the dude was a motivational speaker, and he's talking about all the money that he makes, and I'm kind of blown away. And I realized that most motivational speakers make money off of people that don't have. They don't
Mm.
have health, so come listen to me tell you how to get healthy. You don't have money, come listen to this business seminar. I could teach you how to start a business, right? And I just thought to myself, man, if those people would come in contact with hood kids like me, there would be a bridge that, I mean, look, some of these gang members and thugs that grew up with a little to no hope are some of the best entrepreneurs I've ever met in my life. They're just doing it the wrong way. And so I just saw this like bridge happening. And so, you know, real quick, if you put a millionaire in front of a real, like, I mean, a real go hard gang member, they're going to be intimidated by each other, right? Because on one hand, the millionaire is going to be like, this guy, he could rob me. You know, does he have a gun? Is going to take my car, my keys, etc. But a real thug, a real gang member, literally knows that that guy has what he wants, which is power. Power comes from influence, from resources, right? And so, you know, they're going to be intimidated by each other. And I just thought, I grew up around the thugs, the gang members. And as I've grown, I've been able to meet and connect with millionaires, billionaires. And I thought, man, what an opportunity to bridge a gap, to like literally be the connecting piece from people that have resources to those that don't, and help them. And so then I just, man, I was like, let me start on campuses where kids are at. Let me find students that are on their way to becoming that thug or that
Yeah.
gang member, or maybe they're already in it. They're getting in trouble at school, and then let's see how it evolves from there. And then, you know, fast forward, that was almost over 10 years ago. You know, 10 years later, I have a nonprofit organization working in that field. We're reaching hundreds of students, and doing motivational speaking all over the place. I never thought it would play out like this.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because I mean, I would say, based off of you fulfilling a dream and where you're gaining access to and being able to get your message out, I would put you in the success category,
Sure.
right? And most people listening, watching, they're like, oh yeah, that guy, he's getting it done. Wow, he's running a successful nonprofit, getting into places, key areas, getting that messaging out there. It's incredible. Have you had any failures along the way?
Yeah, I feel like I've had nothing but failures. Like now,
Okay, so let me just stop right here. If you're only
yeah,
listening and not watching, you just missed probably the greatest moment of the entire interview. So go watch us on YouTube, because Jose's face when I asked that question was amazing. So, okay, now I'm going to let you
absolutely.
answer that question. You feel like you've only had failures.
Yeah, so because I've had to climb out of every situation I feel like I've ever been in, I feel like I've always been up against challenges from the beginning. So you talk about starting a nonprofit without a business degree, without any real business acumen officially. You know what I mean? Like I've been a hustler since birth, but that just means I know how to make things happen. It doesn't mean I know how to run an organization, right? And so I mean, you talk about failures, from internal failures of just not believing in myself, and struggling with some insecurities and things like that, to the external failures of lacking administrative skills that it needs, or lacking financial skills that help to, you got to keep the books and you got to do this stuff the right way. And so I'll tell you, we're 3 years old officially, about 3.5 years old officially as a nonprofit organization. And this is the first time in my life, right before COVID-19 hit, that I feel secure financially as a nonprofit organization, where our books are being kept, paying taxes the right way, like literally. And so I hate to paint the picture that, y'all, we just arrived and showed up on the scene and it just boom. No, like literally, we have not done things right the whole way, but we figured it out as we've gone to where we got to this place where we're at right now, where I feel like we're the healthiest that we've ever been as an organization. But none of this stuff, it came easy. The only thing that comes easy for me is talking. Outside of that, everything else has been
Well,
has
we'll
been a
try to
lot of
make sure
failing.
that we don't. Here's the thing. This is a common statement that I make. Our audience listening right now, they're probably going to get tired of hearing me say this, but to me, failure is the greatest teacher on the planet, right? It reveals our weaknesses, it reveals our flaws. And if we will leverage failure as a teacher, we come out better, we come out stronger, we come out more efficient, right? We come out more wise. If we use failure as a weight to cause us to collapse, then we're destroyed, right? But failure doesn't have to mean because I failed doesn't mean I'm a failure, right?
Absolutely.
It means I'm a learner. It means I'm growing. I'm getting through this. So with that kind of mindset, what would you attribute, or what does someone need in order to be successful, to get through those failures? What's the ingredients? What's the DNA? What's the mindset that where you're like, okay, you are going to fail. It's a guarantee. I promise you that. There's going to be more failures than wins. But what is it that I need in my heart, my mindset to go, this is what it's going to take to succeed?
I love that question. I think so many people would attribute my success to my passion, or my charisma, or my just ability to speak. I deny all of that. The key to my success of getting past some of those failure moments has been my burden. And I've always said that it's not passionate people that change the world, it's burdened people that change the world. The truth is, when I am up against a brick wall, or I did hit a failure and I'm ready to give up, I can't help but to think of the thousands of teenagers that are waiting on our organization to arrive on their campus so that their life can be transformed completely. And I've seen that happen, but there's so many students that we've yet to reach. And I know I'm a passionate man, but passion it goes out the door when you hit a brick wall. I mean, like, you get knocked on your butt a couple times and you're like, oh man, like maybe this ain't it for me, right? But there are moments, literally, I can't sleep because I hear cries of teenagers that need hope and they need an opportunity to become successful when the world has deemed them as a failure already. And so I spend a lot of my time literally pressing into that burden that I carry. It's the only thing that gets me back up on a daily basis. And any entrepreneur I ever talk to, you get people all the time, I want to start a business and how did you do it? And I'm like, listen, if your burden isn't keeping you up at night sometimes, I would tell you, don't go start a nonprofit organization, or don't go start a business, because just a cute idea of wanting to do it for the way it looks on social media, you will completely like crash and burn, and it'll be the worst type of failure, I feel like you could have ever experienced.
Yeah, that's so true. And to be honest, while maybe early on we wouldn't admit it, bottom line is money is not a big enough motivator, not to keep us in it, not to keep us in the game, right? We need that burden. We need that vision to add value to what we're doing every day. That's bigger than just another dollar in the piggy bank, right? That sort of thing. So, in one of my observations are that it's easier to blame than to take personal responsibility. And a lot of times we blame our failures on someone else, right? Man, I'd have such a better show if blah, blah, blah. I'd have such a better organization. I'd have a bigger paycheck if, right? And so instead of taking personal responsibility, we do the blame game. So digging past the blame game, what are some root causes of people's failure that you've seen or observed or know of that people should take personal responsibility for, that they say this is actually why you failed, or this is why you gave up, that was beyond somebody else's fault or somebody else's, obstacle that they put in there.
Yeah, so one of my favorite statements in the entire world is it may not be your fault, but it's still your responsibility. And
It's
I
good.
think that that's the one thing, that fault finding mechanism in so many people that like if you ask me right now in our organization, if something was to go wrong, and I got a staff of people right now, we're trying to figure some of this stuff out. If something goes wrong, there are moments where I find it easy to look at somebody else, but I've realized that until I can blame me, the man in the mirror, we will never grow past this obstacle, because it's not the outside people's fault, or it may not be my fault that the issue happened, but it's my responsibility to move past it. And so I would just say some of the things that caused that honestly would be that you believe that it actually was somebody else's fault. I mean,
Hmm.
like literally, people do stuff, right? People do dumb stuff all the time. Some people were, subjected to abuse, or you got dealt a bad hand of cards. But even what we were talking about earlier, man, there are people that were dealt worse hands that had a better outcome, right? It's literally
Yeah.
taking that ownership, 100% responsibility for your life and your future. But I would say this: I just think you can't ignore what happened, and I think that's the challenge. Is because we spend time blaming and ignoring. I'll blame
Yeah.
you, and I'll ignore the pain. I'll blame you, and I'll ignore the pain. When you own it and you face the pain, you can move past that to really make that a catalyst that could really, honestly, change the whole trajectory of your future.
Yeah, I totally have bought into the idea that there's purpose in our pain, right? That
Absolutely.
you can't see it right now. I'm not going to show you, but I have a pretty jacked up leg from a skateboarding accident where I have pins and rods and screws and all those kinds of things. So, and I got all these scars in my leg from the surgery and from the accident, that sort of thing. And the thing about it is my scars are proof that I've healed, but I
Absolutely.
can't forget that the wound still happened, right? I can't forget the pain. And so, um, taking that idea a step further, that in life I've been scarred. Now, I stay paralyzed if it stays an open wound in my heart,
Yep.
but I can bring healing to others if I can show the scars to say, hey, look what I got through. You can get through too. And now I'm
Absolutely.
a hope dealer, right? Which is what I see you doing with these students, going to these
Yeah.
school campuses, going, hey, I had it rough growing up. My daddy went to prison, was a full-time drug dealer. That's your story. You're going, okay, instead of being paralyzed by my pain, I'm going to find purpose in that. And I'm
Yeah.
going to bring hope to others to go, see, these scars have been healed, which means you could be healed too, no matter what you've been through. So I say that not in any way to minimize or diminish what someone has gone through. There's some people listening and watching and are part of this that have been through some horrific things, and that's real. We're not denying that, but we're saying, hey, you can turn that pain into purpose and bring healing and hope to other people just by sharing your
Yeah.
story, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. That's good stuff. Okay. Because we're talking about mindset, because we're talking about, how do we overcome failure? How do we push through? How do we have that grit to do that? What, as I'm crafting out, man, I got this dream. I want to be this. I want to do this. I'm writing some things down on a dream board or an identity. This is the person I want to become. What are some roadblocks that I should expect to encounter in myself or in others that I should watch out, where you go, man, as you're pursuing a dream, look out for these, or be prepared to face this, and don't quit when you hit them? What are just some roadblocks that people come up with, whether it's internal or external, that you can make us aware of to say, push through those? That's not the time to quit.
Yeah, I think the biggest roadblock would be external and internal voices. Uh, you're gonna come up against people that'll tell you it's a bad idea, that you shouldn't do this, or you're gonna feel that at moments in and of yourself, or you're gonna ask yourself the question, could this ever work? What if, like you're gonna literally deal with some of that pessimism, and it don't matter how optimistic you are or how hopeful you are. There's some of that internal struggle that I feel like everybody deals with. And so I think as you're facing those obstacles, you got to get the right voices around you. And so when you hit outside voices that are telling you, no, it's not good, you got to have a squad, a couple of friends, a mentor, a leader that you can go back to and say, hey, look, they said this, How true is that?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm struggling with this thought. What do you think about this? Somebody that sees beyond what your scope sees, so that way they can give you the heads up or forge forward. So when I was ready to start my nonprofit, it was about 2 years prior to me actually starting, and a big part of that was I kept going back to a mentor of mine saying, I got this vision, I got this passion, I want to start this organization. And for like 5 times, he said, nope, not yet. Just wait. Just wait. And I'm such a go-getter, but I was devastated every time he said it. But I literally listened to the right voice. And what I found was when I actually launched and I started to face opposition from people even in our community here who felt threatened by the call or what we were trying to do, I found myself struggling with some of that opposition, and I would go back to that same voice who said, "Now's the time, go." And I would say, "What do you think about this opposition?" And he would literally just encourage me to
Yeah.
forge forward. I think you got to have the right voices, and you got to watch out for the wrong one. Honestly, external oppositions, financial troubles, I think all of that stuff pales in comparison to some of those voice issues that we struggle with on a consistent basis. Who has your ear? I think that matters as you're getting ready to launch out and endeavor into. So I think there's two sides of it. I think there's the hope side. There's the you need the encouragement, the motivation, and then you need the wisdom side. It was
Yeah.
wisdom that he told me not yet. That was wisdom. I
Yeah.
was gonna ruin this thing before it ever got anywhere. Like, but thank God I listened. And so you need people to encourage you, but you also need some real sound wisdom. You need somebody to tell you to sit down and shut up and not yet, and then to be there with you when you are launching out to do this. And if you need a voice of wisdom, come holler at me. I'll let you know if it's a good idea or I don't know about
Yeah.
that.
I got
um,
you. I got you. I will say this too, just to kind of piggyback on what you're talking about here, that everything I am today, somebody saw in me first and spoke it
right,
out,
absolutely,
and so again, it's those teachers, those mentors, that sort of thing. And so making sure that you're in the right environment, but also in the right headspace to receive that, right? Someone said, "Oh, I think you'd be a good motivational speaker." I'm like, I'm the shy kid that wants to hide out in the back. Nobody wants to hear from me, right? And then, boom. Next thing I know, I'm falling in love with something I hate doing because it's terrifying. Like it's
absolutely.
nerve wracking to get up in front of, an audience of 1,000 or thousands of people and be all eyeballs on you. I hate
Yeah,
doing it, but it's the most life giving thing. And I would have never done it unless somebody like what you're talking about just said, "Hey, I think you should do this. I think you could do this." And we need to find those coaches, those people that see talent and possibility in us and speak that. And we need to put ourselves in an environment where we allow them, and they get to call us on our junk too, right? Because
absolutely.
like, "Hey man, I've had those people where they're like, that was not your best. You're not giving your best. You're not giving your all. You can't
Yep,
just eke your way through life. You can't just give a half performance or a half effort." So that's so good. Let me just ask some rapid fire questions here as we kind of shift gears. What is an awesome tool or resource that you use to just strengthen yourself, grow yourself, motivate yourself? What are some tools that you use to do that?
my wife, she definitely helps out in that area. But
I
I,
I
I would
hear that, man.
I would definitely say that book, Success Principles. I'm a constant reader, and I refer back to that book maybe once or twice a year. And even if I'm not reading through the whole thing, I'm going back through bits and pieces of it because I'm always reminded of what success really is, and how to forge forward whenever I'm up against a rock and a hard place.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What do you do for fun?
Oh man, I play basketball.
All
I
right.
love I love getting out on the court a little bit. I got a mean 3 pointer. I can shoot like Steph Curry. You know what I mean? Uh, so no, but I do. I play basketball, and I enjoy being around people. So game nights, anything. I'm super competitive. So if you ever see me, I'm pretty composed until you see me in a game somewhere, and it's all that goes out the window. I'm yelling, I'm getting in people's face, like it gets pretty intense.
All right. All right. I see you got a Dallas Cowboy hat on right now.
Oh, for sure. I'm a huge Cowboys fan.
All right. So that's not a poser. You really
I'm
like
a
them.
I'm a I'm a real Cowboys fan. Win, loss, or draw, we're in there. So
All right.
absolutely.
I got you. I got you. I'm not even going to start that controversy. Look, I'll tell you, on my side of that equation, my wife is the football fan in our household, and I am the nerd guy, right? I'm the tech guy. I'm just like, give me a computer, give me a device, right? That sort of thing. So, I don't even have a bone to pick with people who are Dallas Cowboy fans. I know that sometimes it's painful to be a Dallas Cowboy fan, right?
Indeed,
And
yeah.
I say that with empathy of saying like that's what my friends tell me. So I'm not saying that as like a hater. I'm just saying I get that. I get that,
You
right?
know,
But
people call you America's team. You're also America's most hated team at the same time. So yeah, we definitely get a lot of scrutiny.
there's another team that the New England Patriots. People love to hate them too, man. And maybe it's just because they like to hate winners. I don't know. I don't know.
That sounds about right to me.
They like to hate cheaters. I don't know. There's all kinds of things that people could say about
Whatever route you want to go. Yeah,
whatever route you want to go. Right. Again, I'm not the football fan so I don't even
I
have
got you.
a favorite team. I'll tell you what I was a fan of way back in the day. Tecmo Bowl on the original Nintendo.
Okay.
That was my
Yeah.
jam right there. Right.
All
So,
right. Yep.
um, let me ask you this question. You already said one of my questions is what's your favorite book, but the Success Principles, and we're gonna put a link to that book in the descriptions and in the chat, that sort of thing when this show drops live. So audience, you'll be able to find that. But how can our audience find you? Where are you at? Social media, web, how do we get in touch with you? How do we support you? How do we follow you? Where are you at? Tell us that.
I'm all over. You can look on the website rescueageneration.org, and you can check us out there. I'm on Instagram. We're on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. Jose Rodriguez. My IG and Twitter handle is J Rodriguez #3 JR. Yeah, but I post all the time, so hopefully you have a good time following me.
I do. I see you on there, man. And we'll put those links in there. Thanks for throwing that out there. But let's leave with one last thought as we wrap it up. But what's one motivational lesson or thought that you could just leave us with, and then we'll call it a wrap. One motivational lesson or thought that you'd like to just give us.
One of my favorite quotes is that talent is as cheap as table salt. What separates talented people from successful people is a whole lot of hard work. I think the only way you get to success is by having the grit and the grind to get there beyond every obstacle. It's not cute and packaged like people make it out to be. You really got to have some skin in the game. You're gonna fall on your butt several times, but that hard work, I've said over and over again, I've never been the most talented guy in the room, but I've always been one of the hardest workers in the room. And so you put me in the room with the best of them, and I'll hold my own. It's because I have that grit and that grind in me to just bust my tail until it happens. I've been a hustler since birth. Here we are.
Word up right there. Jose Rodriguez, thank you so much for being our guest today. Hey, that is the Cultivation Podcast. Be sure to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. We'd love to have you follow there, get those notifications. We've got new content, new resources, all kinds of new stuff that we're throwing out at you, and you don't want to miss it. So follow us. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and we have our cultivatedlives.com. That's where we have show notes and the books that we recommend that you can read. You can find them all there in one place. Thanks again for watching and tuning in to the Cultivated Podcast. I'm your host, Tom Hamill. Till next time. Thanks for checking us out today. Be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the incredible content we have coming out. Also, we'd love to hear from you in the comment section. We read those, we respond to those as we journey together in the cultivated life.